wiped out the civil rights movement. Almost single-handedly theorized and wiped out the white. Because they finally realized that brothers and sisters' rhetoric was inconsistent with their behavior. And they realized that brothers and sisters' rhetoric could be altered by the consequences. By the consequences. So when at first they were taking us real serious. We'll burn this place down. And they found out they could wipe that brother out by asking him how much money you want. How much y'all want for the Black Studies program? How many airline tickets y'all want? And so that's strictly a Skinnerian thing. And they carried it much farther. And out of that came Skinner articulated that it is possible to delude people in believing that they have the essence of life, namely, and that's where he wrote his book, Beyond Freedom and Dignity, which you should read. Because what Skinner talks about is that everything black, he talked about blacks in that, he wrote about blacks in that book. And he talked about in there that beyond freedom and dignity, that you can give people freedom and dignity, a concept of freedom and dignity, and still control them. Still control them. And that's why he said beyond freedom and dignity. Give black folks freedom and dignity. They keep saying they want freedom, they want dignity. Give it to them and still control them. And so, why you cannot use traditional white techniques, because it assumes an inherent equality between blacks and whites. So let's go into some of the, and I always use, to show you clearly how mental side operates. I've used so many examples that many of you know. I'm going to try to think of some, I'm going to try to give some different ones now. Some I see right now. The top basketball teams right now in this country, DePaul, UCLA and all, Alabama, if you look at them, Alabama, UCLA, and DePaul, the first 7 or 8 starters on those teams are black. Black boys. Yet these are white schools, just like University of Washington here. White schools. The question must be asked, because this is menticide. Since 8 black boys out of 10 on the basketball team at a white school, what are the white boys doing? At a white school, what are the white boys doing? Tell me, we don't have 80% of the medical school student body. We don't have 80% of the law school student body. Why should we have 80% of the basketball team? That's menticide. They bring black students into these schools for many reasons. And they use them as you use cannon fodder and spit them out the same way. And that becomes menticide. They take our best brains, our particularly best brains, and through the mental process. For example, University of Chicago accepted, one student in medical school last year, and they stated that they had accepted, one black student in the University of Chicago Medical School this last year, and they stated that they had accepted 10. We took those 10 students, names and all, and guess what we found? That Harvard, the University of Chicago, University of California, all of them had accepted the same 10 students. All of them accepted the same damn 10 students, knowing that those 10 students can't go everywhere. And so when you go over there and say, oh no, but see, Dr. Wright, since you're an alumni of this medical school, we took in 10 students. See, here's our letter. And you took those 10 and sent to Harvard, so send me your 10. And look down in the name same. Same name. They accept it. And so that type of gentleman, that type of stuff is what I'm talking about in terms of mental side. Now, about the, I always use the example of Notre Dame about the basketball, and then to get us into what y'all like is the prettiest part about this. I saw Notre Dame play basketball once, and 5 black boys was on the team. You all know about basketball, fast breaks and all. And they were losing the game, so they did what Washington will not do. They put all the 5s out at one time. That's why Washington keeps losing. So Notre Dame's losing, and the announcer is pro-Irish, and finally they put the 5 brothers in, they start winning. The brothers go down, and they go down to the other team, shoot a basket, 2 points down, shoot a basket. Notre Dame team grabs the ball, these 5 brothers start down the street, down the court, and the announcer went crazy. Here come the Irish, here come the Irish, here come the Irish. 5 black boys. 5 black boys. And that's indicative of how they got us. They have us identified in so many ways, in so many segments in the black community, that we're divided so many ways that the whole concept of unity, it keeps eluding us. Keeps eluding us. And so I'm going to say a couple of things that you all should. I rarely say slogans. But here's some slogans you should remember. I mean, here's some things you should remember all the time. If you know better, you should do better. It's very simple about mental side. I mean, you yourself have to understand what's happening to you. And you can't say, I've got free will. I have free will because, see, I can go pick my classes. I can do this, I can do that. That's not free will. You're programmed. You only have a certain number of classes to pick from anyway. You don't have to take no classes. You don't go out and make no class schedules. You can't pick the time those classes meet. I guarantee that. And that's why so many brothers and sisters are in trouble. This morning, these students had me up at 6 o'clock, after going to bed at 4. And I'm walking across the campus this morning at 8 o'clock, 8:30. I think we met one brother, and I started running and said, what the hell are you doing out here? I mean, these white students running over us. And I'm looking around, brothers and sisters, nobody on the campus. I mean, and I'm saying, what the hell are the black students? I know somebody's got 8 o'clock class. All y'all can't have 12 o'clock classes. I mean, the other thing is about the problem. Let me first talk about the problem. The problem is very simple in terms of counteracting mental side. We need to develop, and if you read Cruz, that I did last night, we need to develop a social theory. That's what we need, a black social theory. A black social theory. We need to develop a black social theory because of an old African proverb. Social theory means it dictates the behavior and the direction of life. Everybody have their social theory. Every white group have their social theory. Italians have one social theory. Jews have another one. Irish have another. And that's what makes them Italian, Jews, and Irish. Is their social theory. You can't have, and we're around here believing we can have Jewish social theory, an Islam social theory, a Christian social theory. You can't do that. That's where the division comes. And so we must have a black social theory because the African proverb states, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. See, you don't know where you're going, take any road. And that's what we're doing. We don't know where the hell we're going, so we take any road. Just run down the street. And like if you don't know your way out of here, Malcolm forbid, just take any route. Like me, I don't know why the hell to get back to that hotel over there, somewhere on there. So if you all don't tell me I don't get a cab, I can start walking in any direction and got just a little chance of stumbling into it. In fact, Reverend Jackson, they put him around the country, Reverend Jesse Jackson, these signs on alcoholism. And this one sign he has, we might crawl to freedom, we might crawl, run, walk, but we will not stumble to freedom. I'm convinced that unless we do this, that's the very way we're going to get there, stumble into it. I mean, there ain't no other way. It's no other way. You just can't look for luck for stuff like this. You have to build a social theory. So you have to know where you're going. Some other things come because on Saturday I was dealing with the Black United Front.
Dr. Bobby Wright talking about menticide. I have this CD for you. You have to listen to the whole CD because this brother lays down the problem that is going on with the so-called African American. We suffer from a disease called menticide. Go to AfricanAmericans.com, give us a donation, we'll send you the DVD. Play this for your children, your family, your friends. This is something that will help awaken us in the slumber that we are in. It's Thursday, June 26th. Welcome to another edition of African Americans Ain't African, the talk show that proves and show without a shadow of a doubt that the so-called African American didn't find his way to America stuffed in the trunk of a ship. I'm your host, Buck Wylam. And tonight, we're going to look at a subject that I just found out what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to look at 10 ways to tell if a Native American is European. One of the problems in the African American community is the way we use words and terms. Most of the terms we use and most of the words we use, we don't even know the definition of them. For instance, if you take the word black, black means absence of light, knowledge. Now, for some reason, the African American takes the word blacks and dresses it all up and makes it all pretty and wraps himself in it and starts to call himself black like he himself invented the word. Such is not the case. Most of the terms we use, other people coin for us so they can keep us under control. And words like black and words like African, these are the words that help keeps us in check. And when we use those words to describe ourselves, we are thus putting ourselves under a spell. As always, I'm joined by my host, Rick Moon. Rick, how you doing tonight, brother?
I'm doing pretty good, Buck, and I'd like to say hello to all the people out there listening tonight.
Well, 10 ways that you can tell that the Native American is a European. What you think about that, Rick?
Well, actually, there was an article that you posted, I think, yesterday. It was making a reference to this character, Jeff Foxworthy, who used to always make jokes about rednecks. You know, they would start off like, "You a redneck if," and then he'll come with some scenario to say, why you're a redneck. So, in this particular article, it showed so-called Native Americans making jokes about themselves. And when I read the article, I didn't think it was very funny. I didn't think it was funny at all, being the person that I know who I am, and I know that I am the original or Aborigines or indigenous American on this landmass called America. So I didn't take it too hot, so too good. So I decided to put my own spin on it. So I just came up with this 10 reasons why Native American is probably European.
And without any further ado, we're going to jump in to how to tell 10 ways how to tell if a Native American is a European. You can give us a call. You can give us a call at 256-849-2227. Go to our websites, AfricanAmericans.org. We got CDs, we got DVDs. We're trying to keep the radio station going, folks. Please support us. Send us a little donation. Buy our DVDs and CDs. They're only $5. Help keep us going. Help us spread the information. You can also go to Facebook, and we're online at Facebook in the African Americans Ain't African chat room. Lots of information in there. Lots of brothers and sisters coming in there sharing information. One of the things about coming up with this information and doing the research on that is when you give this information to other people, what they come back with will blow you away. That's how we are connected to this land. And one of the reasons that we know we're connected to this land, well, we're not going to tell you now. We're going to share it with you as we go along. So without any further ado, here are the 10 ways to tell if a Native American is probably a European. Number 1, you are a Native American claiming to be a member of the 5 civilized tribes. Rick, what do you mean by that? What do you mean about that?
What I mean by the 5 civilized tribes, under the Dawes Rolls, which gave a lot of land and property to these 5 civilized tribes, and these 5 civilized tribes were in Oklahoma. They went to Oklahoma, and most of these so-called tribes were basically Europeans. And those are the ones that were getting all the benefits and everything, and not the real people. And the 5 civilized tribes are the Chickasaw, the Choctaw, the Cherokee, the Creek, and the Seminole. And if you look at all of the leaders, or so-called chiefs of these tribes, all of them are Europeans.
Now, when you say the 5 civilized tribes, I once heard that the Cherokee, that's not the proper name for the Cherokee. Could you elaborate on that?
No, the original name of the Cherokee is the Cherokee, where you exchange the A, the E in Cherokee with the A. And there's a map, it's called the Bowen map of 1747. You can look it up online, and it'll show you the territory, that a lot of the territory, that it was the Cherokee and not Cherokee. All Cherokee is the Europeanized version of Cherokee.
Now, Rick, what happens when you change the name like that? When you change the name from and let me get this straight, because I'm sure Cherokee, that still sounds like an English word, just a bastardization of the native word that they come up with. But when you change it from Cherokee to Cherokee, what in essence are you doing?
Well, what you're doing is you're basically counseling the real people. You're changing the name, and you're taking on their character, and you're wiping them out.
So not wiping them out physically, but wiping them out, socially, economically? How is that done?
Right, socially, economically, and even mentally to a certain extent.
Because those people never heard of the term Cherokee or don't associate with the term Cherokee. They're associating with their original tribes or families that they come from, and they see that these Europeans are coming over, taking over their people, and so they don't want to cross over into that.
That's correct. Also, what we call the Chickasaws, I think the original name for that is the Chata. Chata.
So, am I also under the impression that there were more than 5 civilized tribes in the southeast at the time? From my understanding, it was over 2,000 tribes.
I'm not sure about that. I've heard about 500,
Yeah.
and I'm talking about in the southeast.
Yes. Okay. Let's take 500, because I could be over exaggerating a little bit. But each tribe could be identified as a family. If you look at the maps, and one of the things when you're doing your history and looking up your history, one of the things that's a must. You must get the maps. You must get the maps. A lot of times when we search our history, we just search our history in a vacuum. But you must get the map so you can understand the land and who the people are around that time. And when doing your genealogy search, you can go back and look at where your people were from and around what part of the country they were in. So the 5 civilized tribes, that was just a cleaned up tribe, and the rest of the tribes, like they said, Rick said it was over 500 tribes. So if you call those other 500 tribes black, knowing the definition of black just basically means wiped out. Let's bleach these people out. When you look through an etymology search of the word black isn't letting you know who a people are, it's letting you know what is happening to a people. And when you keep using that term, and then you get the people to use that term themselves, that's what they begin to start to do. They begin to wipe themselves out of existence. A perfect example would be the so-called African American community. They've been calling themselves black, African, colored, all these terms that other people come up with, and you seeing what's happening to the group. So one way to tell that you're a Native American is probably a European if they claim that they're a member of one of the 5 civilized tribes. And Rick, could you run off those civilized tribes again?
The 5 civilized tribes are the Chickasaw, the Choctaw, the Cherokee, the Creek, some say Muscogee Creek, and the Seminole.
Okay, cool. So, number 2, if you you can tell a Native American is a European if they tell you that his people lived in teepees. Rick, what do you mean by that?
Exactly what it says. Our people never lived in teepees. That was just some creation that they came up, that the European establishment came up. As a matter of fact, I think it's more like like they're criticizing, you know. But our people didn't live in teepees. We lived in log houses. We lived in earth houses. You know, everything we use, you know, we use everything coming from the earth.
So where did this idea of the teepees come in at? Where did that come from, and why is a teepee so ingrained in our memory and our thoughts?
The teepee, and I haven't researched it extensively, and basically, I see it during the movie times, you know, during the cowboy Indian movies. That's my first, you know, realizing, you know, them talking about us living in teepees.
So
that's my first impression of it.
So the teepee is basically letting you know that these people, they're not stable. They're always up running around, because the teepee looks like something. To be honest, a teepee reminds me of a tent. And a tent is not nothing that's stable. A tent is something you can just pack up and go all the time. Like these people were always on the run or something. So that's what, when you talk about a teepee, to me, that's what I'm getting out of a teepee.
I agree. Correct. That's exactly what you're getting at. They're not that sturdy. I mean, how many, like, what, maybe 4 or 5 sticks holding the whole thing up?
Yes.
That's not sturdy. That's not sturdy at all. Nothing. And nothing else but some sheep, you know, around it. Come on.
Right. And so that's, and
a good breeze will take that down.
Say that again?
I said a good breeze will take that down.
Right. Right. So it to me it looks like it's you know, when they say they bought the blankets over here and gave the people smallpox, that sounds like that's part of that whole deal. A teepee, because it's unstable. You can pack it up and move it in a second. And if you're saying that people, Americans, built these things or lived in these things and moved their people around, especially in places where it's freezing, you got to think again. The third way to tell if a Native American is a European, if a Native American tells you that the Redskin logo is racist, then he probably is a European. What do you mean by that, Rick?
Well, I'm sure everybody's heard, you know, about what's going on with the Redskins and the so-called they're European tribes, you know, complain about the logo. But the problem that they have with the logo is they have a problem with the face, because the face looks just like us. And they can't stand it. If you look at the television and you see the ones complaining, all of them are European, all of them. And they just whining and crying and everything about that logo. And they all, and not just the Redskins, you know, the Indians and the Braves, and, you know, they're crying about all this stuff, but it don't even refer to them.
But Rick, what I want to know is this. This is what gets me. The so-called African American sees these images are right in front of our face, and we don't even recognize that it's us. How is that possible?
When you erase the people, when you change the names, when you make them Negro, and then you change them to African American, and all the other names in between.
So, being that the term African, one of the things that is a definite in the African American community is the African American, 90% of the words that they use, they don't even know the definition of them. So when you use terms like black, let's take black for instance, because that's a major term. What does it do to the mind? Because I've never seen a person that's the color of my shoes. I've never seen a person that's the color black. So when we call ourselves these terms, it's kind of like we're casting a spell on ourselves, because the word black doesn't denote anything. And then when we take on the term African, we're claiming that we're people from another land. Doing that enables the European to come over here and claim our stuff. And that's what I mean about us bleaching ourselves out of existence. You are taking the heritage of your people, giving it up to somebody else, while at the same time claiming you from somewhere else. And the place where you claim that you're from, those people don't claim you. This is the position of the so-called African American in the year 2014. Number 4. If a Native American doesn't blend into the environment in the forest of America, then he's probably a European. What you mean by that, Rick Moon?
What I mean by that is, and we've had shows on this, that all indigenous people belong to a landmass somewhere on this earth. And they fit the environment of that landmass. If you take your so-called Native American and put him in the natural environment in America, which is the forest, he will stick out like a sore thumb.
Now, Rick, give us an example of that.
Example, well, let's look at it the other way. As far as our people go, you can go to the forest, and all you have to do is just take another person with you. Take your brother, your sister, or your best friend, as long as they're one of your people, and look at each other's reflection in that forest. And you will notice how you blend in with all the trees, with all the sand, the rocks, the whole layout. You blend perfectly in. As a matter of fact, when the European got over here, that was one of the problems he had when he came over here, because he had a hard time distinguishing us from the environment. All you have to do is just take one of your people with you. All these so-called, and I'm talking about the so-called African Americans, because the real Aborigines or indigenous Americans know this, what I'm talking about.
Well, Rick, how are we going to do that? And most Americans, the African American, don't know anything about America. When you say the term America, they get screw face. But most African Americans are frightened of the forest. They're frightened of the rivers. They're frightened of the lakes. So how do you even get them to understand this concept if they are scared to even go into these places?
Well, one thing you're gonna have to show them. I guess you're gonna have to show them, that these places aren't as dangerous as they think they are. And you're going to have to teach them about that natural environment. And until they learn this, we have to teach them the relation that they have with the environment that they live in. And until they can learn that, they might not be comfortable in that environment. Because the first time I went into the environment myself, I wasn't totally comfortable, because I'd never been in the woods before. But it didn't take me very long. A couple of days, I was just as comfortable being there, as all the animals that lived there were. Because I also prepared myself for it, because I studied, and there were people in my life that really helped me out, and so I was prepared for it, and in a couple of days, man, it was like being anywhere else. I'm very comfortable being in the forest.
About 3 years ago.
And our people have to learn to be comfortable. We have to teach them. I guess we're going to have to show them. And we're going to have to convince them. You know, we're going to have to get them out of the element that they're in now, because we're really destroying ourselves as a people.
I moved from Los Angeles, California, down to Birmingham, Alabama about 3 years ago. And Birmingham, Alabama is about as rural as you can get. And one of the things that I noticed down a place like Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, those are straight artificial cities. Artificial cities constructed to hold artificial people. And that's how a lot of us got trapped in there. But one of the things I noticed about moving down here to the south into this forest area, nothing but trees. Matter of fact, Birmingham is called Tree City, USA, is all of the life, all of the wildlife that's around here, where in the city they would tell you to kill it, kill it, kill it, spray it out, poison it, raid it, kill it, get this trap. And everything down here constitutes life. And I think moving in those cities got us out of the life paradigm and got us more into death. Because you know how the cities work. If you're not needed, you got to go. And down here in these forests, all life is precious. All life serves a purpose. And I think when we got out of these, especially the recent transmigration up to these cities, that did a lot to hurt our cities. That did a lot to hurt, not our cities, but the places where we live and the areas where we come up and the people that came from those areas. Because down here, I mean, man, I'm seeing snakes long as my house. And they're not trying to bite you. They see you, but they're not trying to bite you. They're just trying to eat or trying to find whatever it is to eat out there. If it's a rabbit or a chipmunk or whatever they trying to eat, that's what they're trying to eat, because that's their job, to keep everything intact. And one of the things that I noticed about the African American, we don't have no clue on what we are here to do, why we are here. Ask the average African American, why are you here? What purpose do you serve on this planet? And watch the look on their face. They look like a deer caught in the headlights. Area code 256-849-2227. We're on live. We have a few callers online. Callers, are there any callers want to add anything or have any questions they want to bring? Great. Well, let's keep it going. Number 5. If a Native American has a baby and it is the same color as both parents, then they are probably European. Rick, what do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is indigenous people are full-blooded. Non-indigenous people are mixed breed. Full-blooded people, if you take 2 full-blooded people, they can make any color from albino to the darkest browns and every shade in between. Who do you know can do that? The Native Americans? I don't think so. Native Americans, their babies are the same color as them. All of them the same color. You know, some might live in a little bit more hotter climate, and they might be a shade or 2 darker because of that. But basically, all of them are the same color. They also have straight hair, all of them. Our people's hair comes from wavy to coarse, which coarse I mean dreadlocks, all the way from wavy. My grandfather, his hair was very wavy. Just two generations, I got super naps. You know, and that's how our people are. We come in all just about all colors, all and all shades. Our hair is different, not just straight like mixed bloods are. And that's how you know, and it's very simple. That's how you can tell full blood from half blood. I have 7 brothers and sisters. All of us are different shades. All 8 of us. My mother and father, that's 10. They were different shades than the other 8 of us. So you got 10 people in a household and all in different shades. None of us are exactly the same color. But when you see European families, Native American families, Oriental families, Asians, or whatever you want to call them, all in the same color. That same color. That's what those are what mixed breeds are. Full-blooded comes in assortment of colors. And that's what I meant by that, by number 5.
Rick, well, the question I have for you is, these statements or these claims that you are making seem so simple. I mean, they seem simple enough where a 3 or 4-year-old can understand it. Why does it take so much for the African American to understand such simple concepts?
Because he's been programmed to think a certain way, act a certain way, and react a certain way.
Could you elaborate on that?
What I mean is the so-called African American has been programmed by foreigners to think a certain way when they think, to act a certain way as far as talk a certain way, and then react a certain way. And what I mean by react a certain way is when something is put in front of them, or you ask them a question, they react in a certain way, and it's always the same. It's always repetitious.
Like what? I hear what you're saying, but give the audience an example, because I'm sure everybody's experienced this. When you say they always react a certain way, what I'm getting from that is this: with this, when I came up with African Americans ain't Africans, when I talk to people who are on this Afrocentric trip, they, like you say, they all react a certain way. Well, if we ain't from Africa, then where are we from? Saying that we got to be from somewhere because we not from here. And if you thought about it, which I'm convinced, and nobody has proved me wrong yet, that the African American, and I'm not saying every single one, but the vast majority of African Americans never had an original thought in their life, from the time they come on this planet to the time they leave it. And it's kind of like Rick is saying, we don't even think. We pass this information out, and we got brothers and sisters will go to white folks that ask if what we're saying are okay. We won't even think about it. So that's why we're doing these 10 items tonight, to show you this is simple stuff that's right in front of our face, and we refuse to pick it up. Number 6, if you are a Native American and none of the ancient artifacts looks like you, you're probably a European. Could you elaborate on that, Rick?
Yes, what I mean by that is if you go to a lot of the digs that's been done in all over America, and you get all the people that they've found, and you put it together, all of them look like us. You know, they have the same body type, same head types, same all facial features, same colors, came in different colors. Also, if you look at the drawings that they made, they're the same color as us. They look like us. They have bodies like us. I mean, they don't look anything like a Native American. Even the statues, the stone heads down there, they don't have Native American features.
I was talking
None
to
of that stuff.
I was talking to a sister earlier, and she was on the Afrocentric trip, and I told her, I said, can you look up a old piece of art called The Reconciliation Between Britannia and Her Daughter America, and I want you to tell me what the daughter America, who is she? Said, just go look it up and call me back. She called me back about 5 minutes later. She said, are you kidding me? I said, what do you mean, am I kidding you? She said, that woman looks like my mama. I said, is your mama African? E. Not just look at the face, look at the body type. These so-called Native Americans do not look like the Negro females that these Europeans came upon when they got here. They called the people when they got here Negroes. How is it that in 2014, with all this education we got, with all this knowledge we have, this is slipping under our nose? If you know, please give us a call at 256-849-2227 and share your ideas and thought with us. We're on live with Rick Moon, and Rick is telling us the 10 ways to tell if a Native American is a European. And Rick, I got to tell you, you hitting all of these on the head. How did you come up with these ideas? Well, how did you come up with this?
Well, actually, I wasn't expecting to do, that it was going to come out like that. Like I said, I was kind of disappointed, on what I saw, because I know who the true indigenous Americans are. And so I took it as an insult. So I had to, I wasn't thinking in a joking manner. And that's why I came up with these 10, because, they're not, I'm not talking, I'm not just joking. It's not a joke to me. I'm dropping serious knowledge. This is stuff, like you said, this is stuff that's very simple. A lot of it is common sense. Really, if you really take a look at a lot of stuff that's been said, it's common sense.
Oh yeah, it's common sense and logical to me. Well, let's move on to number 7. If you are a Native American by means of the one-drop rule, you're probably European. Now, you got to give us the 911 on that, Rick.
Okay, and I forgot to research this like I should. I mean, I have it, and because I think it was 1930, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong, folks out there, but I think it's 1930. They came up with what's called the one-drop rule, and what it did for the indigenous people in America is, if you had 1/32nd a drop of so-called Negro blood, then you was a Negro. At the same time, if a European had 1/32nd or one drop of Indian blood, he was an Indian.
Now, I don't understand that, Rick. Could you run that back again, please?
If you had 1/32nd drop of Negro blood, then you were classified as a Negro. But if you were European and you had one drop or 1/32nd of Indian blood, then you were classified as an Indian.
So what does that mean?
That was another one of the ways that they continue to wipe us out is one of the things that they came up to continue to wipe us out of existence and replace us with Europeans, and that's exactly what has happened.
So what does it mean to say that a person has 1/32nd blood? How is that determined?
I don't know how I would determine, but I like I said, I didn't research it before the show. I should have, because I done went over it a few times, but I just that's it's just that I forgot who made the law too. I don't know if it's a United States law, was it a state law that started it? Might have, back when this, I think it was 1930, so I think it was a national law.
Number 8.
I have to research. I should,
okay.
I should research that.
Okay. Number 8. If a Native American traces his ancestry back over 150 years and it makes a beeline overseas, then he is probably a European. Now, what do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is what we know as Native Americans these days are mostly of a European mixture. They are new people. As a matter of fact, what they did were they got European females to marry indigenous males or have children with indigenous males so they can have claims to the land. And then once that got going, then they used the colonial laws, the census, and all these other laws, like that one drop rule I was talking about, used all this to totally wipe us out of our status and give it to someone else. But most of these Native Americans, they cannot trace their ancestry and then not go to Europe. And a lot of these tribes out here, if you ask them what makes them native, a lot of them goes back to two indigenous people that look more like us than them.
So when you say that, basically what you're saying, to give an example, is this. I mean, let's bring it up in today's terms. Let's take Kanye West. So Kanye West is an indigenous American male, and he marries this Kim Kardashian chick. They have a baby, and the baby is going to be, and stop me if I'm wrong, if they have a baby, is the baby considered European or is the baby considered American?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, it's considered African American because I ain't into Kanye West or Kardashian, and they don't stand for our people.
I understand that. I'm just using it as an example. You can take their names away. I'm just using something so the audience can get familiar with it and try to follow what you're saying. So if you got a cat like Kanye, we can use somebody else, but it doesn't have to be that person. It can be any person. So when a brother marries a European female, I'm under the understanding that I don't care if a brother marries and have a baby with a European female, whatever medium that child comes through, they are what the mother is, because those eggs have been passed down from generations to females pass down their eggs from generations. My sister get her eggs from her mother. My mother get her eggs from and on so down the road. Anybody can fertilize those eggs. Also, too, normally, people, when they have babies, the baby is normally has an allegiance to the mother. So I'm saying when these brothers have these babies with these all these other people, they may think that the baby is, and I've heard brothers say that baby's black. It's not. It's European
like
because. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I said you're right, because you always follow the mother's bloodline.
Right. So that's one of the ways, and then we on the flip side of that, we take on these European ideologies of what life is, and I know sisters that'll scratch your eyeballs out because they'll tell you that they come from a man's rib. These are sisters with doctorate degrees that tell you that women come from a man's rib. This is 2014. People will tell you that today. So it's kind of like you were saying earlier, we let other people train us on how life is, and we take that training and apply it to our lives. Area code 256-849-2227, African Americans Ain't African Radio. We can be reached at AfricanAmericans.org. Go to our website, check us out, support us, give donations. Like I say, send a donation. We'll send you the Bobby Wright Menticide CD off the hook. Also, we can be reached in the African Americans Ain't African chat room on Facebook. Number 9, Rick. If your Native American tribe is a 501c3 recipient, then you're probably a European. Now, what do you mean by that? Because from what I understand and what I'm hearing from the African Americans, that's the thing you want to get now is a 501c3. Could you elaborate on that, please?
What the 501c3 is basically like a grant. It's like when you start a corporation, a LLC. And that's what these tribes are. They're nothing but corporations that get funding by taking your heritage and taking advantage of it and getting all the funding, and we get left with nothing. And that's what all of these tribes are. You can look them up. With any other corporation, any other organization, like for example, just about every city that has at least a high so-called African American population has 100 black men. Just about every big city has one, and you'll find them tribes listed right along with them, because they receive funding too.
So who do they receive funding from? So who do they receive funding from, Rick?
They receive funding from the government.
So they receive funding from the government to carry on your bloodlines while you're out here claiming that you're African and black.
That is correct. And as a matter of fact, I tell people all the time. I've told my family this. I got a couple of nieces in college. I told them all they got to do is go claim their status. They go to college free. Get free health care, all of that. But they're not going to do that. Because they've been trained to do that they're not worthy of it.
I find that a lot amongst the African Americans. I find that a lot. If you tell them that there's no such thing as Santa Claus, they will try to bite your face off. I find if you tell the African American that there was no such thing as a transatlantic slave trade, they will fight with no proof to back up their claim. I find out with the African American that when you tell them that the definition of black means dead, and what has black produced, what has black power produced, what has the black man produced, they can't come up with anything. Yet they stay held on, concretely cemented to these beliefs. What do you think holding on to those beliefs does to the group called the African Americans, Rick?
Well, holding on to those beliefs take you out of everything that is your right to. You have the right. Us as the indigenous Americans have the right to live any way we please. We also have the right to govern ourselves. We have all of those rights, but none of us know this stuff. And until our people start to learn this stuff, and then we have to start doing stuff for ourselves, because nobody's going to recognize you if you can't do your own thing. If we can't make our own products, build our own cars like we said in earlier shows, have our own banks like we had before the civil rights movement, or sham, I'm sorry. Everything. We had all of this, and this was just in the 50s. That ain't, what's that, a little bit over 60 years ago? And we went from that to consumers.
And the African American, and this is my own personal, we'll have a show on this one day, but the African American, and if anybody can prove that this is a fallacy, call me. And I will change my mind. I will change what I say and apologize. But what you know as the African American today, their only purpose for being on this planet is to consume other foreigners' stuff. That's all. They're not here to make sure their children have a future. They're not here to make sure their children are educated, to keep their people on the planet. They're not here to make sure they defend themselves. They are not here to make sure they prepare and grow and produce their own food. That's not what the African American is here to do. The African American's only purpose is to make sure that they consume other people's stuff. Call me, 256-849-2227. Give me another reason why the African American is here. Show me another reason, the purpose of the African American. As a matter of fact, tomorrow's Friday. Why you out tomorrow? And you talking to these African Americans. Ask them, why are you here? What purpose do you serve? Why are you here? And look, before they say one word, look into their eyes and watch the total confusion. They could be 100 years old. It don't matter. What is the purpose of the African American? The purpose of the African American is to be the footstool of every foreigner that comes over here. And I'm not saying this. I'm saying this because I see it every moment of the day. Area code 256-849-2227. African American Ain't African Radio. We have a few callers on the line. We have people listening. If you can call in, share us your thoughts, share us your ideas, share your ideas with us. We love to hear from you. Last one, Rick. Hey man, I really, really, really appreciate this because this makes everything plain. It sums up a lot of stuff, and it makes the picture clearer on why African Americans ain't African. So I really appreciate you coming up with these 10 items. And last but not least, if you are a Native American and you make jokes about who you claim you are, then you're probably European. Now, what do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is, if you claim to be who you are, then why are you making fun of yourself? I mean, and that's, that's what really made me to start to think about writing something like this. You're sitting there joking about your own heritage. No people does that. Europeans do not joke about themselves. They get things done.
So when you say that, let me cut in for a minute right here, Rick. When you say that, could you give us an example of what you're talking about?
I'm saying they like Bobby Rice say, they have a social theory and they follow that social theory to the T, and that's why they got what they got.
So when you say they make jokes about who you claim you are, give us an example of how they make jokes, or how the Native Americans make jokes that they Indians. Could you give an example of that?
Well,
And
I mean, just read. Well, I can say I just got that from reading that article. You know, this never even crossed my mind until I read that article. So, you know, I do see on TV where they mark in, but these are Europeans doing this and not necessarily Native Americans, so-called Native Americans. You know, make a mockery of the so-called Native Americans, which actually they're making a mockery of the indigenous American. And
so would that be a way to ease the American out of existence, making fun of them? Because you know, whatever white folks say, the Negro is always going to jump on his master's back and ride him. So if they're making jokes about you, and we, you know, it's like the Office joke. They saying nigger jokes, and they got the Negroes laughing with them. It's kind of like that.
That's right. Oh yeah. And here's an example. Here's an example how they look at all these brothers out here with these dreadlocks.
Yes.
And most they don't know what they mean or anything. And what foreigners do is they even let you be yourself, and you still can't figure out who you are. And they laugh at stuff like that, just like this poem. They know you're not gonna know that they talk about you, so they make jokes about it.
Yes. Well, Rick, that we just went through the 10 reasons, or the 10 claims by Europeans, so you can know that the Native Americans, these are 10 ways to know that a Native American is a European. Number 1, they claim to be from one of the 5 civilized tribes. Number 2, they tell you that they lived in teepees. Number 3, they tell you that the redskin logo was racist. Number 4, if he doesn't blend in with the environment in the forest in America, then he's probably a European. Number 5, if a Native American has a baby and it's the same color of both parents, then they're probably Europeans. If you are a Native American and none of your ancient artifacts look like you, you are probably a European. That's number 6. Number 7, if you are a Native American by means of the one-drop rules, you're probably a European. Number 8, if a Native American traces his ancestry back over 150 years and it makes a beeline overseas, he's probably a European. Number 9, you're a Native American if your tribe is a 501c3. You're a European. And last but not least, if you're a Native American and you make jokes about who you claim you are, then you're probably European. I was down in Florida one time, and I was out at this dinner barbecue, and everywhere I go, and I'm sure you get this too, especially overseas, when you go overseas, and you can ask brothers who've been in the military this, everybody knows who you are. Everybody knows who we are but us. And I'm down in Florida one day, and this cat sees me, so he's gonna white guy sees me, and the first thing he's gonna do is try to make his claim that he's an Indian. And I'm like, where's your mother from? And he said his mother was from Ireland. I'm like, well, you're not you can't be, your mother has to be a Negro if you are a Native American. No, but my great-great-grandfather was a Native American. I'm like, but your mother wasn't. Your grandmother wasn't. All of those women were European, so that makes you a European. And he argued down that he was a Native American, and he was blonde hair, blue eyes. So this is what I'm saying, what's happening to us. These people are claiming to be us, and if the redskin, and this is for all the listeners, if you can't look at that Washington Redskin helmet, that Cleveland Indian, that Chicago Blackhawk, If you can't, these things are right in our face. That's why we don't get any blessing from the ancestors, because we ignore everything and we believe these people can tell us that a dog is a giraffe. You know what the African American will say? Whatever you say, boss. Tell me I'm lying. That's the African American. Whatever his master tells him, he gonna back up his master. So the reason we use the term America, if you don't know already, the term America means soul people, people rich with soul. Look these words up, look these terms up. That's all we're trying to do here, is to just give the knowledge out, because our kids are doomed. If we keep following the legacy that the civil rights people left us, I don't even have to explain it to you guys. You already know where we going. If you read the news today, you will see all these people coming over from Central America and Mexico. These people don't have doctors down there. These people got all kind of diseases. SARS. Whatever the diseases are down there. And they're coming up and sitting right next to your children in classes because we've been too chicken shit to open. We don't even have our own schools. Not that we don't have our own school is the problem. The problem is we cool with it. We act like we got something that nobody else can get. And we are some of the most idiotic people the world have ever seen. And I'm talking about college graduates. We don't have a clue of what's going on. The only thing that we know is whatever Massa tell us, that's what we gonna do. If Massa say he gonna serve us dog, we eating dog. If these agents come over here, and we know they eat rats over there, we know they eat dogs over there, we know they eat cats over there, but they wouldn't serve it to us. Are you crazy? They'll serve it to you first because you don't think they would, number one. And number two, you don't even think about serving yourself. You don't even think about saying, you know what, we're going to have to start producing our own food. Which one of your leaders is telling you that? Which one of your ministers are telling you that? I'm sure there are 1 or 2, 3 or 4 out there telling you that, but I'm talking about for the mainstream. Is it? And maybe we'll have a show about this next week. Is it? That's what the African American is for, just to be used and wiped out? Because that's exactly what's happening. You're seeing the baby boomers now. They're losing their pensions. Did you really think that these people were going to have you work for them all that time and then pay you to the day you die? Did you really believe that's what they were going to do? Talk to the people who work for these city governments. You know these cities and multiple the cities and these states and these counties are broke. So if they cut off your pension, what are you going to do about it? What you going to do about it? You going to go tell Jesus? What you going to do? You have spent your life helping these people build their and maintain this oppressive system they have over here. You've been happy when the brothers on the street selling the incense. You turned your nose up at them. The sisters on the street selling food and stuff. You dogged them out, telling them to get a job because you had one. Your people were out there trying to do something, trying to survive in this system, and you turned your back on them. I'm not saying everybody did that. That's not the case, but you know who you are. Your people been out here suffering for the past 75, 80 years. That's recent history. I'm talking about in these cities. And most of the people on the jobs, you would get what you make on those jobs and take them to an Asian. You would get what you make on them jobs and take it to an Arab and be proud. But when the Arabs make their money, they don't share a dime with you. When the Asians make their money, they don't give you a penny. And they foreigners. They've learned to survive off your land without giving you a dime. And you just run up there, run your money and put it in their pocket. They don't even have to take your money and put it in their pocket. You put your money in their pocket for him. That's the African American in 2014. So we're at the end of the hour. Rick, Thank you very much for clearing that up. How to tell a Native American is a European. Do you want to close out with something before we get out of here?
Yeah. I wanted to say something to the sisters out there. Just one little small thing, that might kind of prove what I'm saying. This whole thing about you being the true indigenous American. Start wearing headbands and watch the compliments you start getting. And I almost guarantee somebody's gonna come up to you and tell you that you look like an Indian. It might even be a European.
Somebody will. You know what, Rick?
It's funny.
It's funny you should say that. I was talking to a sister today, and she was claiming that she was African. And she said the same thing you just said. She said she put on the head. She said, you know what? I wore a headband one day. If you in your native clothes, if you're in your dress, think Dr. Mumbo Jumbo bought this up. If you put on your native clothes and look at yourself in the mirror, you can't tell but see who you are. But we up here wearing dashiki, suits, bow ties, other people's clothing, and that takes you right out of who you are. That's a very nice term, Rick. I'm glad you brought that up. Anything else?
No, that's about it. Just hope that everybody enjoyed the show tonight, and I hope that everybody thinks about these 10 things that we brought to the show tonight. And with that, good night, everybody.
I want to tell the audience, thank you guys for listening in and tuning in to African Americans Ain't African. The information's getting out there. This is common sense knowledge. If you believe that your ancestors came from 5,000 miles on the other side of the planet in a boat, the bottom of a ship, just put yourself in this position real quick. Everybody's seen the pictures of the slave ship pictures, and they got the people in there locked so tight that it makes a sardine can look comfortable. They got your people in there stacked shoulder to shoulder on top of each other, pissing and shitting and vomiting and sweating on each other in the bottom of a boat that's crashing into the waves on the Atlantic Ocean, jumping up, crashing into the waves on the Atlantic Ocean. And you're eating in those same conditions, and you believe that?
Wooden
ships. And you believe that? Where I come from, you're what's called a goddamn fool. Sorry. That's just how it is. They can tell us anything, and we believe it. Think. Start thinking. Start asking questions. Start going, When you go, that's what got Arsenio kicked off the first time. That the thing that makes you go, When you say, the vibration gets your pineal gland to vibrate. Giving you all kind of options. That's what the rain dances were for. That's what the people all in groups for, making all that noise. It steers up the pineal gland. Why we don't know these simple things at this late date is nobody's fault but ours. With ours. The TV that we watch, the countless hours of TV that we watch have made us retarded. So, I just want to say thank you for joining us, and thank you for supporting us here at African American. We're just trying to put out some information, people, because our people are getting wiped out. And if you are conscious, if you're listening to this radio program, you are conscious, because the name, everybody told me, I saw that name and I was like, what is he talking about? You see what's happening to our brothers and sisters, especially the young males and females. They don't have a clue to what's going on. And they don't have a clue because their mamas and grandmamas didn't teach them nothing. And we got to stop that. So with that, I want to say thank you. Thank you for joining us for another episode of African Americans Ain't African. We'll see you next week with more. And please call in if you have some thoughts and ideas on what we're talking about. Please call in, because we know a lot of people have these ideas and stuff, but being that we're never asked to speak about something that makes sense, we never hear these voices. So you're always welcome here at African Americans Ain't Africa to share your ideas and thoughts. Please share them. And with that, we'll see you next week. Good night, everybody.
Good night.